have to do a little Wayne's World head bob to that music. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of TV Talk, brought to you by the Ayn Rand Center UK, where we talk our favorite television shows and or just award-winning shows, and from an objectivist perspective. And sometimes we analyze it from the perspective of Atlas Shrugged and compare the TV shows with Atlas Shrugged. We have the usual suspects here with us today, Jack Schumann and Jennifer Bouani, but we have an addition. Rucka, who you see all the time on the Daily Objective, is here to act as the MC because today's show is a special show. We're not going to talk about any one show in particular, but it's going to be an award ceremony where we're going to award characters and give them their just desserts, and maybe even a few of you fans out there will get a shout out too. We don't know because Rucka's just going to take the ship from here. Rucka, you have the con.
All right. Wow. Can you believe Kevin Hart lost his hosting gig, but I got to keep mine? Wow. Thank you all. Thank you for having me. This is a true honor. I'm pretty much taken aback. I knew the three hosts are attractive, but I did not expect the audience to be this beautiful. Look at them. Okay, everybody, let's jump right into this. I guess we'll just go through the awards. We're going to be presenting awards to various characters, shows, and so on, as voted for, nominated, and determined by your three hosts.
Can I ask a question real quick? I hate to interrupt the MC, but what does this award mean? Is it a certificate? Is there going to be a little statuette awarded to these folks? Do we send it to them? There is, on all accounts. Okay.
Absolutely.
I will be personally showing up at their homes.
Okay.
And with
we told you, Jax, we told you no more of that.
Okay.
The restraining order wasn't very clear. I do want to say what our shows, all the shows that we've done. So we've done 13 shows. We have covered Fleabag, Breaking Bad, Russian Doll, The Night of, Mad Men, Halt and Catch Fire, Firefly, The Boys, Midnight Mass, Billions, Justified, Sherlock, and Fargo. All right. À toi, Rucka.
A lot of television to watch.
Wow. And we've all been with you through all of it, and it's been a wonderful thing. So let's celebrate that here tonight. First and foremost, ladies first is what they say. Who is the strongest heroine?
As in the drug heroine? Uh-huh. Heroine. Oh, heroine, like hero in the female sense.
You want some strong heroine? Meet me in downtown Austin.
Okay.
So I know I wanted there to be this sort of breaking the fourth wall. I wanted there to be like a few runner-ups so I could like read, the nominees read like 3 of them, 4 of them, and then present the award. What I have in front of me is one winner and one runner-up. So should I read the runner-up first or the winner?
Yeah,
first?
Let's do runner-up first.
Okay. And second place of strongest heroine is Joan from Mad Men.
Yay, Joan!
Hey, Joan!
You made it in the top 2.
And the winner.
But we have to say that she's only the runner-up because she made it to the top in at least one of our ballots, right? Was Jax? Was that you? Was she a top for you?
Yeah,
okay.
she was the top for me.
Okay. So who's number 1, Rucka?
And number 1 is Peggy from Mad Men.
Yay!
We love Peggy's arc.
So you folks out there watching, you could tell us in the chat who you think the strongest heroine is. But does anybody want to give a justification for this pick for Peggy? We have to give justifications for why we do what we do.
Well, her arc was amazing. She went through the 60s and she went from being just this weak little secretary chick to this strong creative person that was holding her own, and we've got to see her through the whole journey and all the bullshit she had to deal with. So she was cool. And she's had a major transformation. So there's a lot of good heroine characters that we saw over all these 13 shows, but I think her arc was strongest personally.
I agree, because that really, I think the summary of her arc can be shown in 2 visuals. The Peggy that showed up to the office the first day to work as Don Draper's secretary, and then the Peggy hungover Peggy, who's got sunglasses on, is smoking a cigarette, going into the new firm with a picture from one of the founders. It's like a pornographic picture.
Oh yeah.
Art. And she's just, because they were like, don't bring that in there, it's going to make the men feel uncomfortable. And she's like, oh, I'm bringing it.
Yeah, see, that's what I think too. Joan comes sort of fully baked from season one on, and she confronts, you know, the man's world of the 60s very well, and we get to see her evolve through that and finally get what she deserves. But Peggy truly has an arc. She starts out as a repressed, shy, religiously beset little girl to an independent woman, a bit of a pagan, pursuing pleasure and joy and her dreams, totally independent in the Big Apple. That's pretty awesome. So Peggy gets my number one, just because she evolved.
All right.
And before we continue, I just want to mention these categories, I understand, are based on Leonard Peikoff's 13 Great Plays lectures. Is that where you got these categories from?
That's right. He did Discovering Great Plays, where he covered 6 or 7 different ones. And then at the end, he asked almost similar questions and answered them for everybody. So we thought we would do the same.
Very cool. Also, real quick, the word heroine, which, you know, referring to a female hero, it reminds of how Peikoff began calling Ayn Rand by her first name. This is a true story, as I've heard Peikoff tell it. They were in a car going on some road trip, and they were talking about Atlas Shrugged, and Peikoff asked Ayn Rand, is Dagny the heroine? But he mispronounced it, and he said, is Dagny the hero Ayn? And Ayn thought he was just calling her by her first name, and she goes, certainly not, and expanded. And ever since that day, he was comfortable calling her by her first name.
Is this a true story, Rucka?
It was on his podcast. He answered the question once. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's funny.
Nice little trivia.
There you go. Much more of that, where that came from. And then we've got the next category. Who is the most admirable hero? And the runner-up is Wendy Rhodes from Billions. And the winner is number 1, Mal from Firefly.
Anybody want to justify that? Why Mal?
All attacks.
Mal is the most, I think he has a great amount of independence and integrity. And I always look at, when I look at a hero or heroine, I always look at it in terms of, could I see myself in this person's shoes? What would they do in this circumstance? So what would Peggy do, or what would Mal do? Because they would do something that is amazing and right and just. And Mal, just all the way through Firefly, he doesn't have the kind of arc certainly that Peggy had, but he comes into it, you know, with built-in independence, and he's as close to an Ayn Rand hero that I can think of in all of the, you know, in all the shows that we've done.
Yeah. What about you, Jennifer?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not as big a fan of Firefly as Jack says, but because I felt it was campy. But I do agree that Mal is a great heroic character, and that he seems to have all the right reasons and fights, and he's just a good guy. So, I mean, I don't feel as passionately about him as Jax does, but I agree with the selection.
Well, campy is the title of my biography, so I loved Firefly, and you're right. Mal was in the tradition of the old Western. You know, he was the hero of a Western, but set on a cosmic scale, which I thought was great. But we do have to give Wendy her props, because she stood between an unstoppable force and an immovable object, and at least in the first season that I saw, maintained her integrity to write the entire time. And that is hard to do when you have forces of nature like her husband and her client, Axelrod. it's easy to be intimidated out of the right thing, and she never wavered. She was the authority in the room. She was the strongest person, even stronger than those two gigantic human beings. That's great television right there. That's objectivist TV writ large.
Yep, fully agree. That's another one. What would Wendy do? She is an incredibly strong, smart, super smart character who I feel like she's always the smartest person in the room, even between Chuck and Bobby.
What would she do? She'd put on those 9-inch heels and a riding crop and go to town. That's what she'd do.
Mark likes the dominatrix.
Nah, I don't like the dominatrix. I don't like that. Even though it may sound like I do later on in the show.
I know.
It's not my preference. I'm sort of an alpha myself. So the
all right, that's another TV topic.
Woman's got to be really powerful to do that. So let's go on to the next one. We'll get into this dominatrix shit later on.
All right. The next category is who is the worst villain? And there are two answers. One is the greatest villain and one is the worst villain. So the greatest villain is Moriarty from Sherlock. And the worst villain is Lorne from Fargo.
Lorne
Malvo, the infamous Lorne Malvo. Now justify yourselves on this choice, guys.
Lorne is the most evil character, most nihilistic, just motivated for chaos, destruction for destruction's sake. That's why he's the worst. And Moriarty is the greatest because he's creepy as hell. He just has this look in his eye that you're scared of him and you don't know where he's going to go and what he's going to do.
He could have, because Moriarty could have gone the Sherlock road. I feel like if Moriarty was like raised by wolves, if he were raised by, good people, he might have been Sherlock.
Yeah. When you're watching Moriarty and Sherlock square off, it's sort of like watching that first Joe Frazier Muhammad Ali fight. You're wondering who is going to be the greatest of all time, and you want Sherlock, of course, to win, but you're excited by the engagement between the two of them because they're giants. Lorne Malvo is just an absolute nihilist. As I said in the show when we were talking about Fargo, I thought he was the devil. And it could very well be that was the case. That was the intention. We don't know, but that makes him just a bad guy. Not even a badness that comes from a psychopathology, but something else. It's never even explored. He just is sort of an entity that's there.
Mm-hmm. So we have first of all, thank you to Jonathan for $1.99 contribution. We have a subcategory discussion that we went into with this. It is Rucka, do you want to read it or do you want us to?
Yes, well, I'm a little bit flustered or blushing. I would remind the audience, viewer discretion is advised. This next category is a discussion. So we've got 3 different winners and the category is villain I'd like to sleep with.
Yes.
Jennifer, you want to go first?
Okay. The villain I would like to sleep with came in not in the first season, but I think maybe like season 3 or 4 of Billions, and that was Michael Prince, because he was a villain to Bobby Axelrod, but he was still a big business guy, and he just although he did have some altruistic issues with his fireside chat that I would have issues with, he was still a good looking guy. So
he was sexy.
He was sexy. Yeah.
Very sexy. So for me, the villain that I would most like to sleep with is Boyd Crowder from Justified.
That's crazy. That's just crazy.
And the reason I gave last night, I'm not ashamed of it, is I think he'd be a hoot in bed. I think it'd be crazy. So there's mine.
Fire in the hole. Fire.
Fire in the hole. Wow, Rucka, the
This is rated R now.
this is going way off course. Save us. Yeah, mine, my favorite villain, or not favorite villain I would like to sleep with. This is going to give the lie to the fact that I like dominatrixes, but that's not the case. Irene Adler. She was more than a dominatrix, and I think when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle spoke of her, or through the characters, he said something like she's got the most beautiful face of a woman, but the determination of a man. Now that's a phrase that wouldn't go over too well in the 21st century, but in the 19th century when it was written, it had a different kind of weight. And when Rand was actually called, she wasn't called a man by somebody, but she was treated like a man by somebody. Somebody said to her, "You're the best man I've ever met," and she said, "Well, thank you." She took it as a compliment, not as an insult. And that's the case with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Irene Adler. She's not just a physical beauty. She's not just physically confident. One of my favorite scenes is when she walks in to meet Sherlock Holmes for the first time in her house, completely naked. But the nakedness,
battle armor, or what did she
it was
call
her battle armor. She was in her battle armor, and it was great. She walked in with the confidence of a Dominique.
I was just going to say that
when Stoddard made the statue of her for that Temple of Man, and she stood naked, but there was no shame in her. There was no shrinking from the reality of her nakedness. It was an embrace and a pride in who she was. It was like she was fully clothed. It was like she was wearing a gown and came into a room elegantly. And I found that to be extremely, I mean, many men would find a naked woman walking into the room extremely engaging, but it was the way that she did it that was very engaging. And it wasn't her dominatrix part of her personality that was intriguing. It was her own interest in Sherlock's mind and how sexy she thought it was, and how she was able to crack that antisocial exterior of Sherlock and get into his gut. She penetrated him, and it was a beautiful, seductive thing to watch. Really, really seductive. So I go for Irene.
Ellie has done a great mashup called Dominatrix. Dominatrix.
Yes. Although I don't like Dominique as a character, but that's a whole other topic of conversation. But I liked Irene. Okay, I think that's the end of our discussion.
Will we continue? Wow. By the way, I think it was von Mises who read The Fountainhead and remarked something like, "Whoever wrote this book is like the last man in America," or something like that, or the greatest man in America. And Rand,
you'll have to say it as he probably said it.
I don't know where he was from. Was he German?
Yeah. Oh. Austrian, right? From the Austrian school. Whoever wrote this is the last man in the world.
Wow.
It's not a good one.
I'm sure it's better than I could have done. Moving on, we've got another discussion topic. Which character has the strongest motivation? In other words, the most intense passion, the most flexible will?
Inflexible
will. Well, sometimes flexibility is strength.
This is true.
Anyway, we've got 4 answers with no particular judge. None of you are attached to these answers, but we've got 4 of them.
Agree on our answers, so we had all,
Mm-hmm. Would you like me to read them, or do you know them?
Sure.
Okay. The 4 winners are Walter White from Breaking Bad, Chuck from Billions, Butcher from The Boys, and Raylan Givens from Justified.
So I will speak to Raylan because so Raylan is first for me, and then I also agree with Butcher. But Raylan, I felt he always stood for morality and the right thing, even when he was presented with the wrong thing to do on multiple occasions, where it just would have been so easy and you almost want him to do the wrong thing because the bad guys are getting away with shit. And he always does the right thing that checks with his own integrity and his own sense of life and the values in his life. And he never wavers. And so as a result, he may not have had the biggest arc, but I feel like having a consistency, that again, that's like an Ayn Rand hero to me. They have this consistency of integrity that never gets compromised, and it's admirable. I love that.
So I did not take that question as looking at someone with the strongest admirable motivation, but just intense motivation. And that's why I couldn't decide between Walter White and Chuck. And Walter White, because he was hell-bent and determined for 5 seasons. His goal is the same thing. He's dying of cancer. I'm going to make meth to get this money to give to my family. And at the end of 5 seasons, it is the exact same thing. He has never, except he does admit that he did it for himself. But his motivation is super strong. You don't get more strong than 5 seasons worth. And then the other one is Chuck in Billions, who just seems hell-bent on taking Bobby down, no matter what, and a little jealous of the relationship he has with Wendy. And he just cannot see straight because he just is so motivated to do that. So those were my 2.
Yeah, and mine was Butcher, and because Butcher has that revenge motive to get back at Homelander for what he did to his wife, the worst possible thing, rape, and then producing a child from that rape. And then the whole scheme of hiding her away, and that he discovers during the show, it just frosts him even more. So that revenge, that bloodlust, that, and also that sense of being on a different class and level than the Supes, that these imperfect beings are being lionized by a phony media, corporate animal, and they're really committing evil. So he's driven also by that sense of injustice, that somebody is making it who doesn't deserve to be making it. They're actually committing evil acts in the world, and they need to be stopped. So he's got that double-pronged revenge, and I would imagine a little bit of jealousy to get back at these people. And it's unwavering. He does anything possible, and anything to achieve that goal, including sketchy things to his buddies and the people in his group.
Agreed.
All right, moving it along to the next subject, the next category. And once again, as someone who respects women, I just really have a hard time with this one. Which character would you most like to sleep with? And we've got
question. Leonard Peikoff did ask that. This came from him.
It was a different time. Men were set in their ways. Anyway, jokes aside, we've got 2 answers from each of you. So a total of 6 characters you would most like to sleep with. You make me sick. All of yous. I'm kidding. But should I read these answers, or do you all have them ready to go in your mind?
You can read them and then we can speak to them.
All right, Jax or Mark.
Well,
Mark?
I'm just thinking that maybe we should say them individually. We should reveal these.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Mark, I'm tagging you. You go.
Oh, I go first. Okay, so we already know that the villain I want to sleep with is Irene, but I have to say the one thing that kept me going on Justified was Winona. From the second she came onto the screen, I thought she was just super, super sexy. It was such a powerful feeling that I was actually relieved when she and Raylan finally got together. I was like, oh, thank God. It was like relieving my own tension by proxy. I hate to say, but every time I see her, I think, man, she's way better than that Crowder girl. You gotta You got to dump the Crowder girl and go with Winona. But she's also strong. They're both the Crowder girl and she are strong, but she's got a sophistication and a grace and an independence that the Crowder girl doesn't have. And I love that. Tons. It's very sexy.
And I don't think you ever see Winona in a scene dressed in anything else but a long tight skirt and heels the entire time.
That's bad, huh? That's a bad.
No, I think it's. I mean, just as it's beautiful for Joelle Carter. I can never say her name right. As Ava Crowder, who dresses in everything. I mean, just Winona. That was her look. She knew what her style was, and she stuck with it.
Nobody looks like they're from Harlan County, Kentucky in this show. That's the one issue that I have. I'm not knocking anybody from Harlan County, Kentucky, but I have seen Harlan County, USA, and I don't remember seeing anybody like those two women in that documentary.
Well, maybe they got out. They're in Florida. They're in Florida now.
That's right. Dipping Mai Tais.
All right. So Jennifer, do you want to go next?
No, I think you should go next.
Okay. All right. My answers are. I mean, it's going to be a real shocker. Mal, but also Raylan Gibbons, and I was like, maybe both, but Mal for sure, and Raylan. I just find them both incredibly sexy and strong and masculine. I love that.
I don't think either of those guys would be up for any.
No, they wouldn't. I don't. Yeah.
Dual action.
No, I don't think so.
No, it would be ugly.
It would be an either or. So if I had
fight over you, Jax.
Pardon?
They'd have to fight over you.
Yeah, I think they're taking out restraining orders on me as we speak.
Well, I have thought way too much about this particular question the past 3 days. And although I find Raylan very sexy, I couldn't put him because Jax and I have to get along as writers. And so we can't go after the same guy. So I thought, well, who do I like? And I found that I really like the guys that I really love the work they do. And one of them, of course, is Bobby Axelrod. And I love how he's just really into it. And I'm hoping the whole time he and Wendy will eventually get together. But, he's got that thing about him that's like he's trying to introspect and there's hope there, but he's not there. You think he might be a sociopath, but he's not. And that could be risky. But the other guy, you guys are probably going to be shocked, also very into his work, is I think I liked Sherlock. So, and I think that same episode that Mark liked, I was on the other side, hoping they'd get together. I liked how she was unlocking that thing inside him, trying to find his emotions. And there's something about that was very sexy. So I don't know if he would necessarily be that great the first time around, but I think he'd be a quick learner and it'd be good after that. So those are mine.
Very nice. Should we keep well on this category? I'm not supposed to give my opinion, but I developed a major crush on Megan from Mad Men. She was my girl.
That's Wendy. That's Wendy Rhodes.
Oh yeah.
Wait, no, that's not Wendy. Megan is the French girl. Yes, I can see that.
The little dance she did.
Oh,
she's Canadian.
Who Don Draper marries for a time.
Yeah.
I loved her. You guys had issues with her, but I thought she was fantastic. No, who had issues with her? Rozzy had issues with her because she threw a plate of spaghetti against the wall. I mean, her husband,
he takes spaghetti very seriously.
Her husband didn't come home because he was screwing around. That's the least he should have gotten. I'm not saying a Lorena Bobbitt was as appropriate, but I mean, she had passion. She was young. She was smart, artistic, talented. She was great. I loved her. I agree with you. She was awesome.
But you're not changing your answers?
I'm not changing my answer, but she is still awesome. And she did a great birthday present for him that was completely which was completely it was sexy, it was cool, and he completely lost it. He didn't understand its context at all. He was lost on Don Draper. So yeah, she's awesome.
Maybe if you're not into surprises, like the way to respond to that is to like say thanks. That was very sweet. Maybe no more surprises next time in the future. Would that be like a reasonable response to that whole shenanigan?
He should wait. If he really didn't want a surprise like that again, he should wait like a couple weeks. He should go to bed with her that night and thank her very much, and wait a couple weeks and then sit down and talk to her about it.
That's great advice. I was ready to just say it like that night, but I think you set me straight. It's great to have. I'm sorry,
but Don Draper in that episode, you could have put a coal up his butt and it would have come out a diamond. That's a little too uptight for me, man. If I were him, I would sit on that impulse forever. Let it go because it's dumb.
Yeah.
Live a little, man.
Yes, and also please check your wife's ID because there's a little bit of an age disparity. Okay, enough out of me and my little fantasies. Can we move on to the next category?
Yes.
Which category do you like most? And there's one winner here.
Which character?
You don't know? All of you agreed on this. Is Wendy Rhodes from Billions?
No, we said which character, not category.
Oh, I said category?
You said category. It's okay.
My bad. Okay. Which character do you like most? And the winner is Wendy Rhodes.
Yeah. Oh, Wendy. When I grow up, I want to be just like Wendy. She is smart, sharp, and knows just what to say to some of the smartest people in New York.
I love her self-esteem. She has, brilliant, well-deserved, terrific self-esteem.
That she does, and I've only experienced her for one season, and I'm sure it gets even more interesting after that.
That's a wrap on Wendy.
All right,
Wendy's wrapped.
Wendy.
Okay, next category is which character is the most memorable, and the runner-up is Don Draper from Mad Men, and the winner is Walter White from Breaking Bad.
Right. Do you guys have anything to say about that? Why did Don Draper get a runner-up? He was a very complex character, maybe even more complex in many ways than
because nobody dresses
Walter.
Up as Don Draper for Halloween.
Well, because Don Draper wasn't, killing people. He wasn't like, he didn't have an alter ego.
Yeah,
it was this, crazy, violent guy. Okay. What do you say? What do you say, Jennifer? Why does he get a runner-up?
Maybe because we covered Mad Men like 4 or 5 shows in a row. So we were on Mad Men. And so like it's stuck into my brain. I just remember I remember him drinking a lot. I have a lot of scenes in my mind when I think about who's most memorable. Yeah. So
why does Walter beat Don?
Walter beats Don for me just because I watched that. When did that come out? Like 2013 or years ago, and yet I just remember his journey and his story, so much of it. I don't remember every detail, but it was so well done and so succinct that it sticks with you over the years, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I would say maybe Walter, because he's a larger than life character. Donald Draper is a very talented man, a genius in his own right, but very typical in many ways of the man of his time and his era. And Walter White is atypical. And has an enormous character arc that I don't know that Don Draper does. Don Draper goes through a spiritual journey, but we don't know if it ever resolves itself in the end to a transformation. We know that his transformation ends up being poured back into his work, and he's probably the same old Don Draper. Walter White goes from one thing to another. He does a double dynamic, triple change. And he's a larger than life character. So that's why he gets it from me.
Yeah.
Right, buddy?
The dog agrees.
Yes, he's sitting there staring at me. I think it means he agrees.
Let's hope. And moving it on along, then we've got which character belongs in the loony bin whom you'd like to visit regularly?
Yeah.
Was this one of Peacock's categories, or is this
a Jack's question?
TV Talk original? Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And must have been because when Peacock was doing those lectures, Ronald Reagan had basically canceled the loony bins and they were all out in the streets. It's a little bit of historical trivia for you, but back to the category. Which character belongs in the loony bin whom you'd like to visit regularly? And the runner-up is Nadia from Russian Doll. And the winner is Fleabag from Fleabag.
Yay! Now,
Yay!
do we have to discuss that? Everybody,
You don't have to do anything.
I think both of these women would be like hilarious. I mean, interesting and hilarious to visit in a mental institution. And it would be like if I had a friend in a mental institution, I would want it to be Fleabag, so that I could just go and she could give me a whole inside baseball scoop on that would be hilarious on the institution. I just think it would be great.
Hey, I think Fleabag and Nadia would be both aghast to just be friends with, but nothing more. Nothing more. It's dangerous. And the problem with being friends with them is it would always be skirting that line. There'd always be that pressure to cross over into that pathological territory, where they ran sexually, and they'd screw everything up. Mm-hmm. So if you could stay out of that territory with them, they'd be great friends. They'd be a gas.
Yeah.
And Allison for $2 says, "This is great, and everyone keeps blushing."
Not me.
I think they were talking about you mostly, Mark.
Maybe it was his angry defense of Megan from Mad Men.
Could be.
Yeah, Mark.
Could be.
Was I a little too?
No.
I thought you were just right, but
so.
There you go. Me too. I don't understand it. Rosie needs to learn that sometimes you got to throw spaghetti on the wall, man.
I once saw Rozzy eat a spoon of butter for dinner. So if that's how much
get out of town.
It was some weird diet he was doing. I really shouldn't dox him this way, but if that's his relationship with food, then throwing a plate of spaghetti.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
He has no credibility now from this time on.
I've been saying this for years.
This from the guy who eats butter for dinner.
He should be here to defend himself.
Damn you, Rosie. Damn you.
We can overthrow him.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Super chat or back to the
Allie just wants to reiterate again for $2. Yes, mostly Mark was blushing.
You lie, Allie. You lie like a rug.
All right. Shall I continue?
Yes,
proceed.
Please.
Which character has the worst fighting form? And the winner is Freddie Knight from The Night Of.
Yes. So I couldn't. So in The Night Of, Freddie Knight is supposed to have been a world championship boxer, and we see him training in the prison gym, and like me in my first year of boxing looked way better than that. And I don't even claim to have very good form, but it was terror. It was the one thing in The Night Of that broke me out of the story. Everything else was like 1,000% authentic. And then I see Freddie Knight and rest his soul. But I see him boxing with like just throwing terrible haymakers, and I was like, I can't believe this. You couldn't have trained for like a few more days to get that, but yeah. So.
Well, look, I mean, you really can't train for a few days to look like a boxer, and you can't train even for a month to look like a boxer. Daniel Day-Lewis did it very well in The Boxer because he did it for 2 years, and he really got in there in the ring and really worked around with somebody. And you can't acquire that skill on especially a level that appears that you're at a championship level in the amount of time that they probably gave him to work on that. So, we say this with much reverence for the man himself, who was a great actor and is no longer with us. But it's distracting to anybody who knows anything about fighting to see a guy who's purportedly a champion who can't actually fight. And it's obvious. If anybody's ever seen Girl Fight with Michelle Rodriguez, I think it's the movie that put her on the map. her and her boyfriend, who's supposed to be an Olympic contender, cannot fight their way out of a paper bag. And it's sort of the point of the movie. And if you can't do it, it ain't going to sell. So yes, he had very, very bad boxing form.
Shame on him. No, I'm kidding.
Shame on him. No shame.
No. Moving along,
Yep.
that's it for character awards. Now it's shows/story awards. And first up, which show has the strongest conflict? And the winner is Breaking Bad.
Yay! If you disagree with us, tell us in the chat or the super chat why you disagree. But I think Breaking Bad had a nearly perfect plot. It was nearly perfectly written. I thought that the first time. I thought that the second time I saw it. I think, yeah, to me that's the one. Although occasionally The Boys hits that for me.
Yeah, I agree. Strong, concise conflict, well formulated, believable, and unique. I mean, this chemistry, gets cancer, takes to cooking meth to get his family to leave his family a nest egg, and that's pretty concise and cool. So yeah, and I think that's why it had a lot of people watch it, and but they delivered really well on it too.
Yes.
I agree. And I think one of the reasons why, because I understand why The Boys would get a close second to that, but I think one of the reasons why that didn't make it to number one is because I think season 2 of The Boys was not as strong as season 1. And every season in Breaking Bad, I thought was just on point and spot on and had really, really excellent conflict going in it.
Even up to its gripping climax.
Speaking
of.
And next up, we've got which conflict has the most gripping climax? Kind of brings to mind some of the earlier categories, if you catch my drift. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
Well, it's crazy that the winner is helmed by somebody that I don't think anybody here wants to sleep with.
No.
Speak for yourself. The winner is Breaking Bad for the series climax, season 5.
And we now know Rucka likes Bryan Cranston.
Wow.
There you go.
Exposed. Watch me blush now, for real.
It's his tidy whities. Featured quite heavily in many episodes. Very sexy.
I always affiliated him in tidy whities with Malcolm in the Middle. Did he also dress that way in Breaking Bad?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Prominently displaying his tidy whities in a number of episodes. It's highly embarrassing. But we don't have to talk about that one anymore. We can go on to number 3 because that's, to me, is an interesting one. Even though there's no discussion next to it, I think we can discuss it.
All right. Which conflict has the most dramatic ending? And the winner is Midnight Mass.
Yes. Now we don't mean climactic or great necessarily. Dramatic is not synonymous with any of those superlatives. No, dramatic means what would you say? How would you
borderline melodramatic?
Yeah, sentimental, big in scope.
It's operatic. It's an operatic ending.
Operatic. And we thought that an entire town, burning to death, while one of the members of the town waxes poetical about life and the stars and the cosmos, warranted the dramatic ending. Let's hope you guys agree with us out there in TV land.
Yeah, I keep trying to remember the name of the music. We were playing it at your house, Jennifer, on New Year's, but it was the da 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 dun, 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 like
Karina Burana.
Yeah, Karina Burana, and that, like, the ending of Midnight Mass, like that music could have been playing when like everybody was like set on fire. And
I wonder if Mike Flanagan was crying while he was writing it. I'd like to know what the atmosphere was when he was writing that. But we digress.
All right, we can move on, I think.
All right, the next category is a discussion piece. So there's 3 answers from 3 judges. Which of the shows is your personal favorite? Would you
Jax,
like
you
me
go
to read them, or
first.
Oh,
Jax,
okay. So I'm Firefly. Firefly is my absolute favorite. I was saying last night, just if I crash on a desert island, give me Firefly plus Serenity, Atlas Shrugged, and David Bowie, and I'll be good.
I did not know this about Jax. I've known her for 7 years, and this was news to me that she loved Firefly so much. So cool to know. Yeah.
What about you, Jen?
For me, it's Breaking Bad. Like I look to Breaking Bad because of just, I think it's A+ writing, Vince Gilligan. And when I think about writing, just not just the perfect scene, but the perfect arc over 5 seasons from small to big, he just nails it. And great acting and all of that. So for me, that's my favorite.
Mine is The Boys because it's a real crucible. The characters are really under fire the whole time, and it's a fairly good commentary of the problems and pitfalls of fame and celebrity, the phoniness of celebrity, and how it can lead to, when you believe your own PR, how it can lead to some pretty delusional stuff. And I don't like its commentary on corporate America or the military industrial complex, because that's very cliche, but it hits celebrity right where it counts. And so I think that's apropos today.
All right. And with just about 10 minutes left of the awards show, this is everyone's last chance to super chat your thoughts and opinions. We're going to need money. We're probably going to get fined by the British government for spelling favorite the American way. The next one up is optional. It's very similar to the last one. It's which story do you like most? And your answers for 2 of you was the same as your favorite show. So with the exception of Jen, do you want to tell us? So, okay.
Yeah, so I didn't pick Breaking Bad for this one, although you guys picked Firefly and The Boys. I picked Halt and Catch Fire, and that just has to do with my personal background and being a software engineer, I think, and seeing this software engineers and hardware engineers and wanting to innovate and competing with people like Apple in the 80s and creating the internet. And so to me, that was a personal connection that I can understand other people not having and tapping into. But I think it's a positive message. Yeah.
I could hear the award show music playing during that just now. It was beautiful. All right. And coming up next, we've got which show creates the most complex or intriguing theme? And the winner is Midnight Mass.
I did not pick this, even though I was a big advocate for Midnight Mass, pretty much over everybody I know. But Jax, you were the one who sort of put it on the map, right? I mean, we agreed in the end, but tell us why you think this.
So yeah, I was not a big fan of Midnight Mass, but because I thought that there were like too many long monologues that went on. But out of all of the themes of all of the shows, this one seemed the most intriguing and interesting philosophically to have really long discussions about, because it really makes you look at the concept of religion versus belief versus what the church versus, like, there are, very good-hearted people who believe in God and want to do the right things. Then there are some really evil people who believe in God and want to do the end of the world kind of things. Think that the Revelations is really going to happen. And the whole concept of the thing behind it is this vampire that is like sucking the life out of people, that is the representation of an angel. It was just, I think it's such an interesting thing to discuss. It's such an interesting topic. It's very intriguing out of all the other shows that we've seen. So I don't know if Jennifer, you want to tack on to that?
I mean, yeah, that was definitely my impression when I first saw it. I liked the distinction between institutional religion and personal religion, and I like the way it showed how it's possible to distort the best ideas and make them evil if your philosophy is the ends justify the means. And so it was a big critique, I think, of ends justify the means philosophy and of formalized religion as opposed to the religion in your heart. As Jesus did say, you know, the kingdom of heaven is within. And I think the people who end up winning, you know, dying properly in this case, are the people who discover that. That the mission can't outweigh the spirit. The mission can't be more important than the love that it's supposed to embody.
Well said.
Moving on, the next is a discussion category. Which show most admirably integrates theme and plot? Shall I read the winners or shall you?
Sure.
The winners are Russian Doll, The Boys, and Breaking Bad.
I can start this one because I did not pick Breaking Bad for this. I picked Russian Doll. And I thought because there was such a super clever way that they structured the plot as this loop of that conveyed the theme of her looking, and like a Russian doll, looking further and further, introspecting. And then she had this kind of scientific approach to trying to figure out how to get out of the loop. And she meets this guy who has like it's a moral issue approach. And together they have to figure out that it's really together they have to find their way out of this thing. And I just thought that was really well done in integrating the theme they were trying to say with the actual plot that they did.
Yeah, and for me, The Boys is just a good social commentary, like a good horror sci-fi movie is, and it integrates social commentary on a bunch of different levels that I think are relevant today, and that's why I like it.
And I picked Breaking Bad because I thought the theme of how a man, seemingly how an ordinary good man, something bad can happen to him and he turns into a highly refined criminal. I thought because the theme on that is, I don't think that Walter White started out as a good man. I think he started out as somebody who he just needed the right scenario to bring out the inner narcissist / sociopath in him.
A catalyst for a chemical reaction.
Right, exactly. There you go. And I thought, the plotting in Breaking Bad was genius. So that was my.
And this is where I think objectivists are different than the culture at large, because the culture at large will say power corrupts, and they'll make that general sweeping statement to everybody. But I think we as objectivists don't think that. We think that the corrupt seek power. Mm-hmm. And as Jennifer said, the power is a catalyst to, it's just all the stuff that's really in there, all the brokenness that comes out, all the need for recognition that ends up dominating their personality, which was with Walter White. I mean, he was a brilliant man who didn't have the ambition or courage to step up, felt that he was betrayed by the world, and was taking out that rage on everyone else and trying to get his recognition through this evil medium.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right. Only 3 categories left before a special surprise after that. Speaking purely aesthetically, which objectively is the best show? And the winner is Mad Men.
Yeah, I think we all blurted that out.
Yeah.
We were all in agreement on that. It was just beautiful sets, beautiful tone. And especially as you're going through the political, you go basically 10 years, they just did such a great job at the authenticity and really bringing you into that world.
Agreed.
Yes.
All right. Next category, speaking purely philosophically, which objectively is the best show? And the winner is Firefly.
Now that's an interesting one because that was definitely my pick. but I was surprised when Jennifer and Mark got on board with that.
You were surprised.
Yeah. So why don't you guys talk?
Well, I think because it projects independence as a fundamental value, and all of that implies for folks like us who are objectivists, and it rings through every single character in the piece, every single virtuous character in the piece. They are their own person. They're self-sufficient, and I don't mean that in that they're an island unto themselves, but they're resourceful and self-sufficient and understand that it all begins and ends with themselves. So I think having that idea of independence on a entire plot level and resonating through all the characters makes that philosophically the most sound and consistent piece that we watched.
All right, time for the final award of the night before a surprise thing after that. And let me just say what an honor it's been to be here on really just unironically, one of my favorite shows on the internet right now. I watch pretty much religiously, unless you're talking about some show. I just really have no idea what you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, this has been a wonderful ceremony. It was thought-provoking, funny at times. I needed a cigarette at one point. And most of all, I found the audience to just be terrific and very attractive. All right, final category of the night, taking both art and philosophy into account, which is objectively the best show? And the winner is...
I can't do it. There we go. Come on, Rucka.
Sherlock.
Hey!
For a second, I thought Rucka was frozen. Sherlock.
Now that would get a response out of you, Mark, that we know.
Yeah, Sherlock, I think, combines all the elements philosophically. I mean, it's a reason forward, I think virtue forward show. The main characters in it, I think, exhibit virtues that are very admirable. And the show itself, the aesthetic of the filming, particularly seeing inside the mind of Sherlock as he's working on his problems, and the style through each show, which is somewhat different each show, makes it a very aesthetically pleasing show to me on that level as well.
Ditto what Mark said.
Yep.
All right, shall we move on to the special?
Yeah, let's do.
Yeah, let me read the super chats real quick though, just to give shout outs. So Ellie for $5 says, y'all get a shared award for best hosts. Thank you. Awesome. Apollo Zeus gave us £2. Thank you. Carolina, I hope I say your last name right. Carolina Ledesma for $40 MX. What is MX?
Mexican. So that's like,
thank you. Okay.
It's not worth that much.
That's a peso. Those are pesos.
Hey, whatever. Anything
we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it helps to pay for the light bill.
Oh yeah.
Allie for $5. She's referencing Midnight Mass. When your sickness is cured by vampire blood, it's hard to go against religion at this point. Also loved this. Keep it up. Wants to know if we're going to do a clubhouse afterwards. Yes, we are. Mark's not going to be able to join, but we will start it, and then you guys can go at it. So that was it. That's it for the super chats then.
All right. And now special surprise. We've got a few more categories to awards to give out. And this one is for the TV Talk fans. First up, who gets the award for TV Talk super fan and throwing characters out of the window fan? And the winner is Allison.
Allie. Go, Allie. Always throwing them out the window.
And next up, which fan is the most lovable ornery on Clubhouse?
The most lovably ornery on Clubhouse. I'm going to say Ellie.
Well, luckily, that's the winner.
Yeah,
I figured since you sent these to me, all right, that you would know. Then, and finally, the final award of the night, Which fan watches TV Talk religiously, even though they may not have seen a single episode of the show we're reviewing? And the winner is not me. The winner is Sammy is bored again.
Although I haven't seen Sammy on the chat, but I think the tie on that would probably be Christopher Schmidt. Because I don't think he always watches all, but he's always here. So thank you.
And thank you, everyone. And thank you for having me.
No, thanks for hosting it.
MC.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. MCing it. You made it more fun.
Appreciate
Thank you very much. So are we concluding? Should I give the concluding spiel?
Please.
Oh, yeah. We need to talk about what we're doing for the future.
Okay, I think for the future, we're going to be looking at Ozark. Not sure exactly when we're going to do it yet because I have to travel at the end of the month for work. I won't be back until the end of March. So we'll keep you in tune with what we're doing. We may have to do something at the end of March. Any more to add to that before I give the end spiel?
We're going to try to do the whole season, the whole series.
Yeah, we're going to try and do all 4 seasons of Ozark. So technically, this concludes season 1 of TV Talk. So
includes season 1 of TV Talk. TV Talk will be bringing in season 2.
Can I? Sorry, because this is ARC related. You all seem like people that would enjoy visiting London, although I personally don't. But I will be, and I hope to see you there. Do it March 28th through Ayn Rand Con and a day after Ayn Rand Con, a full week of fun. Do it. Trust me. It'll be very cool, and I'll see you there. Sorry, Mark, back to you.
Yes, you heard it. I'm going to try to make it there if I can. We'll see if my schedule permits. So, folks, that's been the final episode of season 1 of TV Talk. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll pick you up at the end of March with the beginning of season 2. All 4 seasons of Ozark. That's what we're going to be talking about. I like it when we can do it like that. It just makes the conversation a lot deeper. So until next time, thanks for watching TV Talk with my co-host Jack Schumann, Jennifer Bouani, and with our very special MC, Rucka, kicking ass here on the airwaves. And until next time, folks, we'll see you later.
Bye. We'll see you all on Clubhouse.